Welcome back to my channel. I'm Debs Unique, your hip hop professor. This is lecture number 2. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down the structure of letter forms to create maybe your first real graffiti tag or name or moniker. Even if you have a name or you're a seasoned graffiti artist, you'll probably get a little bit of knowledge out of this one. For those who don't know, I'm a graffiti artist, beat maker, producer, beatboxer, graphic designer, the whole 9 yards. I'm a true hip hop head, b-boy to the T, or to the B, or to the break. Anyways, in this video, I want to show you how I break down letters and what I've learned over the years as a letter form artist. And well, let's just get into the video and we'll go from there. So check it out. Thanks for watching. Alright, we're here at my desk. I'm going to do a brief overview of letter structure when it comes to graffiti names and what have you. This is kind of something I came up with over the years. My studies with letter forms. So when you're picking your name, or even if you already have a name, this might help too. But your tag is probably one of the most important things about being a graffiti artist, because as I started out, I had a few names in the beginning, and I landed on Debs, which is my initials made into a word, and S was my favorite letter. So I just created DEPS. And I put 1, I was Debs 1 for a long time, and then there's other Debs 1s out there, so I changed it to Unique, which is a synonym for 1. But enough about me. So let's just start with the basics here. So I start what I call 3-story letter forms. I call them that because they basically have one, your ground floor, your second floor, and your third floor. And as you can see, these ones, A, B, E, F, G, H, K, R, S, they all have 3 levels to them. They have a middle, a bottom, and a top. And this happens to help when you're deciding on a name or a name change. Some common graph names. I remember there was a Curbs in San Francisco years ago. Really dug his style. So you want to, if you're gonna, and then I've got my homie Herb, which is just a small. You just take those off, ERB or URB. How he started out. And then there's one of my favorite writers, Saber, who I actually had the luck to meet when he was painting a mural in San Francisco years ago. I never got his autograph in my black book, but I regret that today. I had it with me, I just didn't ask him. I was too shy, because he was a legend. He still is. Pick up his book, by the way, it's super cool. It's got his whole body of work from his LA days to his San Francisco days and beyond. So, yeah, if you, these are some of the letters that look really good together if you're working with all 3-story letters. Now, I'm not saying you have to pick, okay, when we get to straights, curves, and symmetrical, you don't always have to pick the same letters in that category. Like for me, if we go down to, I got the D, the curves. I'm going to skip straights for a second here and go D and P. I chose those because I think they look fresh together. And then E and S go together because those are both 3-story letters. So I got D, which is a curved, an E, a P, and an S. Um, so yeah, curves. I've written these out here. These are, and some of these, like there's an R here and an R here and an S and an S. Some of them have multiple categories. So the straights, pretty straightforward. You've got pretty much, they're all just straight lines. So for instance, like if you were to do, let's look at this, mix. Mix is a cool word, or you can, mixer up would be a cool word. So straights, and what I like to do sometimes is, even when I'm just practicing, I'll just make up words, even though I don't write them, as my name. It's good practice if you want to study letter forms and get the knowledge of how letters work or what have you. And then, I've already talked about those. So let's get down to symmetrical. Symmetry. Excuse me. There's somebody's driving a motorcycle outside. I don't have a studio setup here with sound walls, but maybe in the future I'll get a booth or something for these videos. But enough about that. So symmetry. Basically, if you cut an A, an H, an M, an O, sort of a Q, you've got this curly Q, but a T, a U, a V, a W, an X, and a Y in the middle. If you folded them over, they're basically mirrored images of each other. So you got the M or the W, cut them in half, And also, there are a couple letters like I. If you cut that in half, it folds this way. These fold this way. O is the same way, so it's basically O, I, and X. O, I, and X are the three letters that are both vertically and horizontally symmetrical. So now this is just a basic. I got a sans serif font here that just basically shows, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these all are always in the straights. Like with an M, it can be a curve letter. Just depends on how you, and you can basically take any letter, in my opinion, and make it, with the exception of three letter, not all of them, the three-story letters will have that intersection in the middle. But like an A, you can make that into a, well, that's already a straight, so that's a bad example. But a C can be a straight, if you write a C like that, or an S can be a straight, or a Z. Oh, Z's already straight, never mind. But a Z could be a backwards curve, an S backwards, and it looks dope when you do it like that. So keep these in mind when you're creating your letter or your name. Wrong one. Let's get into this one here. So combos, I got my own here. I already explained that. I got the D and the P, which are curves, and then the three stories there. You can mix it up. Like I said, mix it up. Start writing, looking at the alphabet. Just coming up with, pick your favorite letters and work with those and create a word out of those. That's my best advice. If you like like I love R and K, or back in the late 90s, we had KR, or now known as Crink. He just wrote KR, and that's dope. You can do a lot with a K and an R. So think about the letters you like most and stick with that. Make a word out of it or what have you. Really up to you where you want to go with this. This is just a way for you to kind of think about your word. And so back to symmetry. So as you can see, these two words, Jevel is an artist in Paris. When I was living in Paris, I saw him a lot. He did a lot of roll down murals. I just love the way how a J, and you can do an E backwards and a V, and then an E, and then an L. I mean, if you cut that in half and folded it over, that's dope. I mean, when you do a piece like that where kind of, kind of, you know, drops and those could be your letter forms. You could do a lot with symmetry if you have a word that's very symmetrical. Revoke is sort of symmetrical. You got the R and a K, and then the E and a O and a K, or and a V. I don't suggest you steal someone else's name, kind of try and come up with your own name. But a lot of these cats out here, as long as they're not like household names like say Revoke or Crank, it's free. It's no one's gonna know in San Francisco about Jebel in Paris unless he goes global. I only saw him a few places. But don't just bite. Don't bite someone's name and use it as your own. Come up with your own name. I mean, this is creativity. This is art, and you want to be original. But it's okay to like get inspiration from other artists or what have you. When I first started writing, I was Rebel, and I like the words, the letters for it, but it just kind of seemed cliche. How many jokers are there out there? There's so many jokers, and so yeah, just kind of work with it. Take a few weeks. Could take a couple years before you really land on the word you're going to use for the rest of your career. I kind of fell in the depths just because I like the way it worked vertically. I think it looks dope vertically. So a Rever is one that me and my buddy used to write just for fun. So let's move on to numbers. Numbers can be a big help, if you grew up on the 12th block or whatever. You could be deuce, 12, and or just one, the classic one. And here I got some other ways you can write these. Like a G looks like a 6, and a 5 definitely looks like an S, and a 2 looks like a Z, and a 3 is a backwards E, an 8 and a B. So say your name was B48. That looks pretty cool. You got the 4 in the middle and then a B and an 8 on this, symmetrical, what have you. Just something I came up with right off the top of my head right now. And then don't forget your lower cases, like the A and E. If you flipped an E, a lowercase e kind of looks like a lowercase a if you write it like that. And then you got the E. And then P and Q. You do that. And just be creative. Don't forget the lower cases, and some words won't have lower cases just because just the letters you choose, but just kind of mess around with stuff, and once you found something, just write it over and over again and just create different styles, block letters. And then, kind of and just this pen's a little small, but it's the only red one I can find at the moment, so I'm using it so it just shows up. And also don't forget your symbols. Your symbols, your stars and your exclamation points and your question marks are the classic $. So yeah, keep that stuff in mind. And we're going to move on to another sheet I created. So letters and numbers, I kind of touched on. Play with them. Say you like the word okay. You're not specifically required to write OKAY. You can change it up, think about what it sounds like. Because, if you wrote the whole word BEC, all the way out, that'd be a long word, but you could change it to because. I wouldn't recommend because I think it's been used quite a bit over the years. But, if you're going to steal stuff, steal with creativity. So, and then my homie, One Toozer, she's a girl, and she's my homegirl, and her favorite number is 12. So we kind of made a word out of that, One Toozer. Yeah, so, or you can even do, like, for instance, she calls me Tensky because so you can do Tensky, or you could do Tensky. Just, and you're not required to have one word. I mean, you can write more than one word until you really find the one you like. And then 2 to 5 letters. I recommend I wouldn't say one letter, because what are you going to be, R? I mean, unless you're, that'd be dope. R, but, R for short. I guess that'd be cool. But I would stick to 2 to 5 letters. My homie, he used to be like, oh, you going out tonight? Write up my name. And I'm like, what's your name? And he's like, Relentless. Come on, dude. You know how long that would take? And it just doesn't flow. It's just way too long. So my suggestion is stick to 2 to 5 letters. Sometimes 6 if you really like the word, but 2 to 5 letters is kind of the happy medium. And then another one I'd like to talk to you about is letter sounds. These are some of the most creative names I've come up with. There's a whole bunch of them. Like because is a good example, but like excess, that's a word. Excel, that's a word. Enemy. If you actually spell this out, I hate you, or I hate you. It sounds like I hate you. I always thought that was creative, or that'd be cool for a crew. I'm not sure if that's been used or not. And then moving on to crews, it's fun to, even if you're not in a crew or don't plan to be in a crew, or you're just a solo writer like me. I used to be in a couple crews, but they all stopped writing and what have you. So, I got this one I came up with. It was just me and my homie, and he moved away and doesn't really do hip hop much anymore. He got a job and started a family or whatever. But a VIP, I've always liked the way it flows. V, dope V like that, and then an I, and then a P. And it stood for vandalism in progress. And this one I just came up with. I like that, the N and the K. You could do a Night Owl Crew. It's just something I came up with when I was making this paper. So yeah, keep all that in mind. It's not set in stone. Any of these rules, you can break them. Because once you know the rules, you can break them. Then, study typeface design or letter forms like calligraphy and stuff. This book, I'm not sure if it's still on the market, but I learned a lot. It's got a really good introduction. It also teaches you how to do like digital fonts, which is something I do now with t-shirt design and sticker design and what have you. But pick up a book. It doesn't have to be this exact one, and learn the rules. You learn what an X height is and the baseline and what have you. It's even if you don't like particularly want to be an artist, you just want to be a bomber or a tagger or just a piecer, or just do it as a hobby. Study this stuff. You'll learn a lot about the way letters work, and some of it you can even learn the history of it and what a sans serif is and a serif is. If you don't know what that is, you need to know if you want to be a dope graph writer. Or even if you're just watching this and think graffiti art's cool, you're an artist yourself and learn type design. It might even improve your handwriting and your signature and some of your design, because if you look at, for instance, I'm not going to open this book but if you look at this, letters are just basically shapes. So you got a circle here and a line here and a sort of a triangle on the F there. It's basically you're just using shapes. Another thing I suggest is getting some graph paper. Graph paper in the early days helped me learn how you have a grid, and it helps you learn how, it's almost like the math of letters. Graph paper, once you start sketching with graph paper, it'll help you learn the basic math of shapes. It's, a lot of it's geometry. So pick up a book on letter forms, even if it's calligraphy or even I've been reading a lot about how geometry has been used in art history for centuries. It's some fascinating stuff. So, okay, we're gonna leave it at that for this week's lecture. But I'm gonna move over to the front where I'll be on camera again, but to do a little outro. But thanks for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned a little bit. Get out some pens and some pencils and start creating your word. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Depps Unique, signing out. So yeah, I hope you got a lot of information out of that. Maybe you got your first word in mind, or you practicing. Remember to get a Sharpie. That's all you need for this course. And some paper. Maybe even some graph paper like I suggested, and some pencils or pens. Just regular ones for that matter. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. I got a few things I want to show you. This one, Subway Art. It's a book that is probably one of the most classic books on the art of graffiti. Talks about the good old days in New York, and the birth of hip hop, graffiti, as we know it today. The trains. There's a lot of good images. I read this cover to cover a few times. Taki 183 Spawn's Pen Pals. I referenced that in my last video, so check that out if you haven't seen that video. Spray Can Art, which probably the sequel to Subway Art. A lot of good stuff. I'm not really sure which one came out first. I believe it was Subway Art, but this could be a good read for you. Spray Can Art, Henry Chalfant and James Prigoff. So I'm a graffiti artist from the Bay Area. I've got 2 copies of this, a hardcover and a paperback. One of my tags is actually in this book. I'm not going to reveal it, but if you have this book or you pick one up, let me know that if you find my tag in there. I was pretty proud of that one. Oh, there's a good one. All these homies, a lot of my homies are in here actually. Old homies. Erupto, I forgot about him. Anyways, check it out, Bay Area Graffiti. I think it's out of print now, but you can get copies on eBay. Then I'm going to get into some stuff that's really harder to find. If you're looking into international graffiti, this magazine, I don't think they make it anymore. It's a hardcover, but it was fantastic in its heyday. It's called Graphitism. It's basically the, as it says on the spine, the International Graffiti Writers Publication. It says it all, international. It's got everything from all over the world. Some really good stuff. So if you can, eBay, you can find these on eBay. They're not cheap, but they're well worth the money if you're a collector like me. Classic. I have every issue they ever, well, at least the ones in print, every issue. Oh shoot, little tag on the back of me from back in the day. Depps Clothing, got it on. Wow, I haven't looked at this one in a while. Issue number 13. Yeah, Mass Appeal. Pick up the earlier editions. They're better than the later ones, but a lot of good stuff. If you're into hip hop or 90s to early 2000s stuff, you'll see some fantastic stuff in here. 555 Soul. Even the advertisements are good. Some classic photography. Look at that. Yeah, it's not just graffiti. It's like hip hop culture published in New York. And then out here in the West, we have a really underground mag, harder to come by, but I think you can. I don't even know if they're still in print. But Clout Magazine. I think I made some of my, and not in this one, I don't believe. Some of my old, not Subway, Freight Train pieces. One or two got in this magazine. Few. This is dating back. I don't even remember when. Does it say when it's published? I don't know. Anyways, there's a lot of like underground magazines like this. Really good to learn from. I wouldn't suggest biting, but get inspiration. Yeah, Giant. I met him in San Francisco years ago. Doesn't know who I am, I'm sure, but Gray. Anyways, yeah, good stuff. So yeah, get your hands on some of those old magazines. You can get some good deals on eBay. If you go to Bombing Science, it's a Canadian. I think it's bombingscience.com, if I remember correctly. Maybe CA, I can't remember. If you go to there, I think they still have magazines you can buy. Art Primo. There's another one that still sells magazines, I believe. Yeah, just get your hands on as much reading material as you can. If you want to really get serious about this art form, I suggest you study the history and where it's going in the future. You know, the internet's all great and all, but getting your hands on an old copy like this, these pieces don't exist anymore. And a lot of these pieces and tags and what have you, have been lost forever because they've been buffed away. And I have a whole collection. I've got hundreds of them. And I look at it as an archive where I'm saving these art pieces that no one will ever see again unless it's in print or somehow put on the internet. Anyways, that's enough for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you in the next one. Depths Unique, signing out. I'm going to leave you with this new hip-hop song I'm releasing. Check out my album on all this. It'll be on all the Spotify or streaming platforms soon. Not sure the exact date I'm releasing it. I got to go through jump through some hoops, but we'll see. So thanks for checking out the video. Peace.
The only way I could figure it's not that they don't like graffiti, it's that they don't like something they can't control.
They're all appalled, cause we write on walls. Destroy toys, we don't bite at all. Heaven spots are dangerous. We strangle this cause we might fall. We design, type and draw. If we quit, there's no light withdrawal. Like crack, we're hooked, writing back books. We're practiced for days, man, learning how to use a spray can. We rather hit the pavement than get laid, man, amen. We read while you were sleeping every weekend, then sneak out and get to creeping. The fat marker attracts harder than a smile that lacks tartar. No whack artists, no toy boys. We rack the hardest, then deployed and destroyed regardless. I might be 40, no longer a shorty, but I still catch tags for the glory story. Krylon and Rusto still gives me a rush, yo. So I go for the gusto, cause I'm a graph head that's still half dead. After night falls, we write on walls. Urban legends that served attention to enlighten all. After night falls, we write on walls. Urban legends that served attention to enlighten all. Graffiti carried us to seedy areas. No need for marriages, we got ferried us. The high we got from a mighty spot was so potent, we had to write a lot. At night we jot, underground kings in the dead of dark. What a wonderful sound it brings. Flat black, white gloss, that's crack. 2 white walls, out late as night falls. Fame is the game, the night calls. Drips of paint, gripped and stained, lit the way for us to spit our game. Our written names were our monikers. We wrote them cause we were bonkers, crazy, yeah, to say the least. Every chance we got, we sprayed the streets, drawing our ABCs, hoping we may be seen. It's a crazy dream to go all city, tags, throw these pieces, they're all pretty. Words written on the Hall of Fame, punk, rock, hip-hop, it's all the same. After night falls, we write on walls, urban legends that serve attention to enlighten all. After night falls, we write on walls, urban legends that served attention to enlighten all. At the writer's bench, we'd all meet up, sketch our names and get weeded up. The jocks tried to beat us up, cause we stole the girls and we'd feed their gut. They needed nut and they liked our steez. We didn't do it for money, we'd write to please. It's like a disease and we spread the word. I'm Deps Unique and I said it first. I let it burst, writing red. It's like a curse, cause it's like I bled. Stamps and posters riddled the block. Walk it and talk it, cause I'm a living god. My favorite artist is Future 2000. I've wrote a million times, but who's counting? My fountain of youth is found in the booth. That's why I sound like a kook. Mark Echo is the richest toy alive, but my art, yo, he won't be up as much as I. In the 90s is when I stepped in the game. I lived the graffiti life, and Deps is my name. After night falls, we write on walls, urban legends that served attention to enlighten all. After night falls, we write on walls, urban legends that served attention to enlighten all. After night falls, we write on walls, urban legends that served attention to enlighten all. After night falls, we write on walls, urban legends that served attention to enlighten all.